I wish we could have did it in New Orleans, but it's like, you know, Vegas. When you look at the lights, the big lights, and being out here, I think it's a blessing too that we all able to get away and can celebrate each other. So, but we'll be able to do something else in New Orleans, I hope. Man, I respect them boys. Man, them boys, a lot of history for us in our city. You can't discredit that, man. They got a lot of great artists on that label.
What went, because you said y'all only could do 10 songs. Mm-hmm. So what was the process of the 10 songs you picked?
I got so many records that I was like, you know what, instead of just give me some hits. I told KL, give me some hits. Mm-hmm. You know, give me what the fans want to hear. Yeah. And then we had to break it down from there. It was just tough, man, but we got down to 10.
If I asked you 25 years ago that No Limit and Cash Money would share the same stage, what would be your answer?
No.
What made it time right now?
We on God's time, and we both had to grow up. And I mean, I respect them, and it's just that we come from two different places. They're from the Magnolia, I'm from the Calio, and but I feel like I had to grow up too. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I blame myself because I never had no problem with them. It's just people around.
The No Limit versus Cash Money versus was monumental and groundbreaking for so many reasons. First off, I don't know about y'all, but 13, 14-year-old Brian would have been shocked. Because back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, you didn't hear Cash Money or No Limit ever referring to each other at all. And no public forums, no interviews, no little tape interviews that was on the black market or on the underground. You know, perhaps a few here or there, but I never saw them or heard of any of them. And so it's like, from the consumer standpoint, especially if you don't know the history and you're not from New Orleans or that area, then like you would assume that it's just some underlying beef and a natural rivalry between two record labels from the same city. It's like you never heard of Cash Money and No Limit ever talking together, talking about each other, being in the same place, let alone sharing one stage. So for that reason, man, it was such a big deal for the culture of hip hop to see two of the biggest Southern powerhouses in hip hop share one stage. It was extremely legendary. Never thought we'd see Birdman and Master P, you know, going back and forth or whatever. But, you know, it's not only hip hop history, but it's New Orleans history. And I'm sure the whole city was going crazy. Now, if you peep that verses, you will see that it seemed like if your hood bells are going off, your hood sensors are going off, is you can sense some tension on that stage. And I don't know the entire story between No Limit and Cash Money on how the initial, because there was some like family beef, and whenever you got those two mixed together, it never ends good, to be honest with you. So you know, from my understanding, there was some family beef between the two. Some family did something to another family, and you know the other family wants retribution, and y'all know how it goes, the same story. So I think it's one of those stories from 30, 35 years ago, the reason why No Limit and Cash Money were always rivals. But No Limit, let's be clear though, y'all. Let's be clear. No Limit walked so a lot of artists today could run. So a lot of record labels and independent artists can run. But when it comes to the music though, growing up, I was more Cash Money. And it's weird because it really hit me. Both of these record labels hit at the time where I was really starting to sprout up and grow up. Like, I just remember No Limit, mid 90s to late 90s, they took over everything on the underground. And I was only 11, 12, 13 years old when No Limit was coming up and being hot and getting, you know, worldwide recognition or countrywide recognition, because they had been underground for a minute. Cash Money didn't come out till late 98, early to mid 99, as far as what I could see on TV and in radio in Kansas City. Some other people might have had it way earlier than me. I'm sure they did, especially in Kansas City, let alone New Orleans or the southern region. But those are the years when I first started to learn about No Limit and Cash Money, and when they first started to be recognized around the country. And I was a little older when Cash Money was out, and I was a little more established on what I liked, and this, that, and the third. So that, like, I kind of grew up more with Cash Money. No Limit, I grew up with them too a little bit, but they just, it's like their growth period stopped after like 2000. But look, they both to a point did it independently, and in the 90s it wasn't unheard of, but it was extremely difficult to do, especially in the South in the 90s. There was no connection. There was no record labels or anything like that in the South. You had rap. I mean, you had Rap A Lot in Houston, and then Atlanta, you had LaFace. But as far as it being like how it is now, it wasn't like that. And it was extremely hard for especially hip hop artists, Southern hip hop artists in the mid to late 90s to try and get on. So just understanding the time that we were in, and giving the perspective, like these two record labels almost did the impossible. They did. But I remember the very first time that I heard a No Limit song, and I was in the 5th grade. It had to be late 95, early 96. And it was Mr. Ice Cream Man. And I'm like, people at school, I was at Volker at the time, and people at school was like, "Hey, do you know who Mr. Ice Cream Man is?" I'm like, "Nah." It's like, "All right, it's Master P." And I'm like, who's Master P? Like, it's Mr. Ice Cream Man. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I mean, that was like underground music for me in Kansas City. It was always like E40 and the Click, even though they wasn't like real underground, they were independent. You also heard like a lot of those West Coast guys, Selly Cell, uh, just a lot of the Bay Area guys in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? But this was to me, like I had never heard of UGK until Big Pimpin'.
Lord have mercy.
Now, mind y'all, I know some of y'all are shocked, and some of y'all like, what? What are you?
Damn.
Like they've been out since the early night. They was on the Business to Society soundtrack, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, bro, look, I was 10, 11, 12 years old. How am I gonna get it? I can't. What? Stop. So look, but this seemed like to be a new version of underground music, is what I'm trying to get to in the mid to late 90s with No Limit. And then in middle school, like No Limit was the soundtrack to my middle school years. A lot besides the R&B, but at school, when I was at Bingham and then later on Robeson and Purcell, it's like these people will be having a new No Limit CD every single week. I am not lying to y'all. And if you open up them CDs back then, No Limit would have like a catalog of artists and CDs that are about to come out, so you can go back to the store and go get you some more No Limit. When Ghetto D came out and he had that long ass catalog of Silk the Shockers coming out next month, and Mystical is coming out in the fall, and Fiend is coming out, and Cain and Abel, and I'm like, oh man, y'all got hella shit coming out. But that was a part of the mastery of Master P, and that was a part of his marketing plan, and how he was such a genius for what he did, and why he was such a groundbreaker, because of guerrilla marketing campaigns like that. A little bit like in the South, they had to hustle their way to where they are, and nobody did it better than No Limit and or Cash Money. But Cash Money, I first heard of them probably late 98, early 99, Juvenile's High. That was the first Cash Money song I ever heard of. And Back That Ass Up came out after that. What was that? Early summer, late spring, early summer. Back That Ass Up came out. The video dropped. It took over radio, and it was it from there. I don't think we had a clue on how legendary Back That Ass Up would be at the time. Now you got symphonies performing it. It's a certified classic hip hop song. To be honest, it's probably like a top 5, top 10 party starting song of all time, no matter what genre you talk about. You know, you got everybody of every race backing their ass
Of
up.
course, that was crazy.
And they really did change the world. Manny Fresh said it in Verzuz, you know, we changed the world with our music, but they really did, man, because Cash Money just set a new blueprint. Like I feel like No Limit took it to another level, but Cash Money took it to a whole other level. And then you add in Young Money and Lil Wayne's legacy and all this Nicki Minaj and Drake and all this other stuff. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like No Limit inspired what Cash Money, what they are today, low key, a little bit. I will say that a lot of people's favorite growing up, I don't know, it was kind of spread out a little bit with Cash Money on people's favorite. I want to say Wayne, but then it's like early it wasn't Wayne. Early it was like Juvenile, and then BG had a time where people was like, nah, that's my favorite. But my favorite though, and even though Birdman called him a little bitch or whatever, and you know, whatever, Turk, that was my guy. Before football games, my hype up CD, like everybody got their soundtrack to what they go into to football games with. A lot of the young guys now, like NBA YoungBoy. Mine was Young Turk. Like Untamed Gorilla, that I would listen to that before every single game when I was playing high school ball, my junior and senior year. Those were the ones where, yeah, I got to listen to that or else I ain't gonna be right. I ain't listened to that CD in a while, man. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit that. But Turk was always, he was always my favorite. I think Wayne was probably a close second, and of course, like Lil Wayne just took everything over after Lights Out. That was the first CD I ever bought, along with Mystical's. I forgot what his CD was called. Let's Get It Ready to Rumble or something like that. I don't know, the one that had Danger and the one that had Shake Your Ass on it. That CD, and along with Country Grammar. Those 3 CDs were the first CDs that I went to the store and bought with my own money. But Lil Wayne Lights Out, that another life-changing CD for me from Cash Money, because that was when I was really starting to get my music collection and starting to DJ a little bit. And starting to prepare myself to DJ for college. But I will say, as far as the Cash Money No Limit legacy, like it was a wrap for No Limit by like 2000. Master P, he was trying to take it to that next level and still keep it no limit. But man, with some of the songs and videos they had coming out, it was like, this ain't it.
Shut
Man.
up, Brian.
This ain't it. They had to go to Chopper Style later on in like 2002, 2003. And then Master P, he had a couple songs where he was trying to make twerk music. Like, nah,
I beg
bro,
your pardon?
stop. Stop. And then, you know, Master P tried to make No Limit like a household brand. Like, as far as clothes, shoes, rap snacks, he was selling everything. And then they started to get on TV, and then Lil Romeo came, and it to me, it got ugly in the end for No Limit. But I will say, No Limit, they had better hood movies. I got the hookup. Certified hood classic. I love that movie. Baller Blocking, not so much for Cash Money. Going back to the Verzuz real quick and revisiting that, I just want to know why all these motherfuckers didn't know the words. Y'all been rapping and performing these songs for well over 20, 25 years. And y'all don't know the words pat down yet. Y'all should know this in y'all sleep, how much y'all performed and listened to these songs. That's one thing about Verzuz that I'm really not liking though. I enjoy Verzuz for the most part. I love the concept. I think the concept is better than the execution, because when they on stage, the performances like bring the music down a little bit. Silk the Shocker, like we already know he's an offbeat ass rapper. That's his style. That's what he does. But dog, you're rapping over the lyrics that are already offbeat, and now you're naturally offbeat. So you're rapping offbeat to your song that already sounds as offbeat. So you got 3 different beats going on between his original vocals, the vocals he's rapping, and the beat itself.
Lord have mercy.
It just the performance meter and where the levels are, it to me is dramatically going down. I think some people adjust their expectations for verses and what they expect out of performance or whatever. But it's like I feel like some of this stuff is going to be acceptable, and it shouldn't be.
Come on now,
Especially
dog.
Silk the Shocker rapping live over his own lyrics.
Come on, man.
But you know, going into verses, the younger audience really thought Cash Money was gonna wipe the floor with No Limit. No Limit came with the energy. They didn't know a lot of their words either, but you know, shouts to Mia X and Master P getting all of his steps in with them high knees. It was good to see that, man. The younger audience, they weren't familiar and still not familiar with a lot of the bangers that No Limit had. Like No Limit between 97, 98, 90, 99, like those years, they had every hood club going nuts in the United States. If you wasn't playing No Limit, then I don't know what the hell you was doing at the time. They had every single record that you could think of, something for the streets, something for your parties, something to ride to, something, you know, they even had some R&B music. Shout out to Sons of Funk. I don't even think they broke that out during the verses. I mean, I think I tapped in a little late, so if they did, my apologies. But look, No Limit had it, bro. So, and I don't think the younger audience really knew or appreciated No Limit's catalog at all. I'm talking about probably 30 and younger, maybe. I was hella young when No Limit's catalog was popping like that. So the general public was wrong though, because everybody thought Cash Money was gonna wipe the floor with him. Now there was some few, you know, things that we didn't like they didn't hardly play no Lil Wayne songs. And if you take away the Lil Wayne and Young Money element to Cash Money, then you really like, is it full-fledged Cash Money at that point? I don't think so. I will say the live audience, though, they got to do a better job with that. The live audience was extremely underwhelming. And I noticed that I think the live audience was on another feed or something, because when they would cut back to the live audience and they would be rapping the lyrics or something, they would be off. They would be off beat. It's like they didn't know the words. Like, come on, Las Vegas, what are y'all doing? That's why people were saying that they should have had it in New Orleans. But yeah, we knew that wasn't gonna happen. But look, man, if you grew up in that era, you know that both labels shaped the culture. But for me, Cash Money sound still reigns supreme, although No Limit gets my utmost respect for sure. Shout out to my dog, Kansas City's own Big Court, for being on stage right by Master P and representing the town and representing No Limit. But at the end of the day, y'all, it wasn't about who won at all. Nah, it was about celebrating what these two camps did for hip hop. And the tension might have been real a little bit, but so was the respect, as it was a good night at that Cash Money and No Limit Verzuz.